We shouldn't judge a book by its cover, yet that's exactly what we do. Likewise, we shouldn't judge a website by the hero unit and those first 3 seconds that we land on the page, and yet we do. So we complain about all of the quirks and problems that we have, which is called human nature. So today I'll give you the top 5 most frustrating pain points that designers have when they are designing hero units on our website. Before we jump in, I just want to explain what a hero section is. I call them hero units, but hero sections is probably the main industry term. This is the main banner or billboard on our website. We've got 3 seconds to get the message across, and as standard, if we talk about a classic hero section, we're talking about one background image, whether that's a photo, illustration, abstract pattern, texture, gradient, or solid color. We're talking about a main headline, which is usually our heading 1 on our website. And then sometimes we'll have a strapline to go with that headline, and occasionally we'll have a call to action button. Sometimes hero units will be in grid format using a hero grid. They could be in galleries where we're showcasing multiple photos. We could have video backgrounds which showcase a video without any sound, or they could be built for signposting off to different areas of our website. But ultimately, the main fundamental rules don't change. Those 3 seconds to get our message across. So let's jump in and have a look at what those pain points are and how we can overcome them to become more accomplished, well-rounded web designers. Let's crack on. So in at pain point number 1, we have the trials and tribulations of working with low-resolution images. This is far less of a problem than it was, say, 4 or 5 years ago, because the quality of camera phones now has improved. However, one new headache has come in where most of us take photos in portrait format, whilst a website lends itself to landscape images, especially when we get up to large and ultra-wide monitors. So if you've been in the web design industry for almost as long as I have, then working with low-resolution images is completely unavoidable. Thankfully, we've got a few tricks up our sleeve. One, we can adapt our hero unit to show multiple images. So a gallery hero. This allows us to reduce the size of the photos in terms of how they're displayed, and that will hide a great deal of imperfections. So whether the photo hasn't been taken professionally, or it's been compressed to high resolution, there are workarounds there to make those photos look as best as they can within the website. Secondly, if we have access to Adobe Photoshop, we can use the new AI Generative Fill, Generative Expand, and other AI tools that are being baked into Photoshop since 2023. We can now use those tools to expand the width of our photos or the height of them, depending on the format. Yes, of course, it will bring artificial sides to our photo. So if we are working for a real estate company, we shouldn't be making up extra parts of a room that don't exist because, of course, that will come back to bite us. But if we're working with websites where we want to extend more of the background and accuracy of that photo isn't as important, then this could be a great way to make our hero sections look bigger. Another option as well, before we jump onto the next point, is we can use tools like Canva or Photoshop to crop around the edge of an object or image. So we can use multiple images within our hero. We can have a background gradient, texture or pattern, or even solid color. And then overlaying that, we can have one focal point image. So it means that we can take a close-up photo of a product that's on show and bring it into a on-brand background. And talking about branding, that brings us on to point number 2. This headache is caused by inconsistent branding. I'm not just saying about poor branding where maybe your client has Comic Sans font. What I am saying though is that there may be multiple fonts all jumbled up all over the place because your new client has already had 4 or 5 designers of all different levels working on their business. They're probably not going to be brand experts. So we need to step in and sometimes do a little bit of housekeeping, a little bit of organizing to get the project back on brand. In most cases, our housekeeping is about simplifying it. So we have a streamlined color palette, a small selection of web-friendly fonts if possible, meaning that we don't have to go down through the medieval approach of creating images from our text, which is no good for accessibility, it's no good for Google, and therefore really good for your client. By streamlining and simplifying our brand, we can make sure that our hero sections truly pop. And bringing us on to point number 3, for our hero sections to truly pop, we need to make sure that we do not overload it with content. Less is more, or if we follow the KISS methodology, keep it simple, stupid, we need to strip back the amount of content in our hero. Do you really need a 30-second video header that is both going to slow down the performance of the website, increase the load time, which will reduce the number of visitors that go through to the website and affect your Google rankings as well? And so that's the trade-off we often have. If it's a videography company, then a video header on the homepage makes sense. If you are showcasing an area of natural beauty. Again, there could be a strong argument made for having a video hero. However, I've been a culprit with this, as with many other designers, is we get excited about the creativity of a project and sometimes we lose sight a little bit of the fundamentals. So to strip it back, keep it simple, often it's one background color, texture or photo, a single hero section. Sometimes we can put it on a card background to separate it from the background photo to make sure that the text is easy to read. Sometimes we'll add a call to action, but not always. It depends on so many other factors that make up your website. But if in doubt, look at inner city or roadside billboards and just see how simple they are. One image, one message, one call to action. That's all you need. Bringing us on to point number 4. It's all about responsive design. Is our website going to play nicely with mobile and tablet displays? With both website builders that I champion, Squarespace and Hostinger, depending on your budget, Squarespace the higher budget option and Hostinger the lower budget option, and both website builders give you the option to choose a focal point, a section within that hero where the focus is applied. That means that where we have a banner on letterbox mode on desktop, we can choose the location height-wise, and then on mobile view, we can choose where that image is going to be displayed to make sure we're not chopping off the best parts of the photo on individual devices. We also need to think about load speed as well. There is a great tool that I recommend called compressor.io, where you can just upload your photos. It will compress them to a much smaller size, even for large banners, meaning that your website is going to load more quickly on both desktop and mobile sizes. There's loads more to cover on this particular point, but as a starting point, if this is overwhelming you a little bit, just make sure that you double check your layouts on both desktop and mobile sizes, and you'll be off to a good start. And on to point number 5, we're talking about clarity of message. So the points we've already covered will take you a long way to making sure that this headache is avoided. And that is text legibility, making sure that text is easy to read against a backdrop. So I've already mentioned adding a card in behind our header, and that's a really good starting point. But also, other areas that we can make this text legible is increasing the font size, maybe adding a drop shadow effect behind our text if our website builder or platform will allow us. We can also do this with custom code as well. One of the simplest options is equal and generous white space. White space is the negative space that sits around our content. We've got macro white space, the large gaps between elements. For example, the right-hand side of our title and the edge of the banner image, and a micro white space, which is the space between small sections. For example, the kerning, which is the spacing between each letter on our text. Again, if you're starting out with this, keep it simple by going with default options, looking at other websites and getting inspiration from those in terms of the amount of white space. I believe anyone can learn how to effectively use white space, and make sure that we're thinking about this in the back of our minds when we're designing layouts. But a good rule of thumb is declutter your website, which will increase the white space because we're compacting less content into the area, and also check other samples as well. So I hope those 5 points will help you get over your website headaches when designing the hero section. It is such an important section within our pages. And in fact, with our projects, we build multiple hero units. So we will look at a hero for every key page on our site, making sure we're getting short, snappy messages across. And in some cases, we will add a secondary hero further down the page to highlight another section, service section of a business, or a new key product or feature. You may have guessed it, but I could go on all day about hero sections, and I won't, I promise. But now's the time I'd like to hear what you think. Leave a comment with some of the challenges that you find with hero sections and how you've overcome them as well. And it'll be great to hear from you. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Cheers.